Okay, thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone, and I welcome all of you to the last and final session of Time Career Series. And today we have Careers in Marketing with us, which is our last session also. So we'll be concluding the series. Before we start off this series, I would like to welcome Antara ma'am. Thank you for joining us today and taking out the time. And we have Director Ahmedabad Satish sir with us, who will also be attending the session and giving his inputs throughout. Once again, welcome, Antara ma'am. Yes, sir.
Just one quick announcement. I think Ritvik has also joined. Hi, Ritvik. So Ritvik is
Hi, hi,
बाकी
Satish
सारे
भैया.
बच्चों हाय हाय ऋत्विक. बाकी सारे
Hi.
बच्चों के लिए थोड़ा कॉन्टेक्स्ट. कैट में कई बार हम वी चेज कैट राइट कैट एग्जामिनेशन एंड अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स वी फील यार हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है डिफिकल्ट लग रहा है राइट. एंड आई वांट टू गिव द एग्जांपल ऑफ ऋत्विक कि यार कैट में नहीं भी होता है तो यू स्टिल फिगर इट आउट द थिंग्स. एंड ऋत्विक हैज कन्वर्टेड इन हिज मतलब जब कन्वर्ट हुआ तो आई एम उदयपुर का डीएम प्रोग्राम भी हो गया, आई एम अहमदाबाद भी हो गया, आईएसबी भी हो गया. मतलब छप्पर फाड़ के हुए थे सिलेक्शंस एंड उससे पहले कुछ नहीं हो पा रहे थे. तो लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स वी वी एट्रीब्यूट दैट आउटकम एज कि यार मेरी एबिलिटी है या नहीं है. सो आई वुड वांट टू टेक दैट की टेक अवे लेसन फ्रॉम ऋत्विक जर्नी एटलीस्ट कि it takes a couple of years time, but if you are persistent enough, then there is no way you are not getting into top B school, right? ISB is undoubtedly like top B school, right? India का one of the top B school, no questions about that. So जब हुआ है तो like सारे छप्पर फाड़ के हो गए थे. एंड एट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम आई एम उदयपुर जाने के लिए भी रेडी था ऋत्विक. इट वाज लाइक आप कुछ भी करके कोई बी स्कूल में चले जाना है. So that's
Yeah,
the key takeaway. We will come back to you also, Rich, in a meanwhile.
thank you.
So
Thank you, sir.
sorry, I think मैं बहुत ज्यादा बार्जिन कर रहा हूँ.
Starting of the session, Antara, it's just an informal Q&A chat. I have some questions prepared for you, and then we'll also be taking in the questions of the audience. Antara, you're on mute. Yeah. Okay. Guys, I'll quickly introduce Antara. Antara is an ISB Hyderabad alum, as we all know, the stature of ISB Hyderabad. And she has worked in various companies, especially in the digital brand marketing area, right? And she's worked in various companies like Tata Digital and various more. Antara, instead of me introducing yourself, why don't I tell you to share your story and share your background with the audience?
Okay, sure. So I started my career in advertising. So I worked for an FMCG client, Britannia. So I worked on 50/50 milk bikkies and NutriChoice, which I'm sure all of you would have heard of. So I worked with them. And just to give you an idea of what I did there, so mainly worked on refining briefs. So it was a client-facing role. I used to work with the brand managers at Britannia. So the role involved understanding what their business problems are and then providing marketing solutions through advertising. So I learned a lot about writing clear briefs, stakeholder management, working with the planning team on brand strategy. And it was a great learning experience. I've worked on activation campaigns and, brand campaigns, which is your ATL. So by ATL, what I mean is TV campaigns, right? So I've worked across TV campaigns. I've worked across events, product launches, all of that. So that was my first stint in advertising. And then after that, I moved to a retail and e-commerce brand called Chumbak. So at Chumbak, I mainly worked on brand strategy to drive marketing and retail, basically improve sales on retail channels and digital channels through marketing interventions. That's essentially what I did in Chumbak. So Chumbak is actually a pretty small company. I mean, it is a startup. It started around in 2010. So it's been around for quite some time, but it is still a very small organization, which means it was very horizontal. I could work with the founder. I could interact with people who've been in the business from the very beginning. So it was a great experience. I handled the brand social media presence. Generally, when a brand does not have a lot of money, they tend to focus mainly on social media as their primary channel of marketing. So that is what I used to look into. We also started moving towards brand marketing, though. I worked on the first brand campaign. It was a celebrity brand campaign for Chumbak. So that was also a really great experience. Um, it was part of the brand roadmap to reposition the brand. So that's another thing that I worked on. Chumbak, I'm not sure if you guys have heard about it, but essentially it used to be like these really quirky laptop covers and cushions and mugs and stuff like that. And what the founders realized is that Chumbak is just an impulse purchase. Like, people are not intentionally coming into a Chumbak store. It's like they're walking on the road, they see it and they walk in. So it's very impulsive. And I worked on a that's fine. Yeah, so I mean, that is basically what I did in Chumbak, working on that brand roadmap and also working on retail interventions, which was very new, right? Like in advertising, I'd mainly done, I guess I had also done retail interventions in advertising, but this, I was closer to this because I was able to see the outcome. In advertising, you don't have any visibility on what the outcome is. You just provide the input. So that was really great. Like, that was a really great experience. And now I'm at Tata Digital. As you rightly mentioned, I work for Tata New, which is the e-com app that the Tatas have launched. And I basically look into driving awareness and consideration through marketing interventions. So a lot of brand strategy, a lot more data analysis than I used to do in my previous jobs. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I do right now. And yeah, I'd love to kind of make this a little more interactive, because I think talking about what roles are available in marketing, I mean, even ChatGPT could answer that for you, right? Like, you can just literally ask ChatGPT, what are the roles in marketing? And you'll get a much more articulate answer than what I would be able to give you. So I would love to know if you guys have any questions about what my day-to-day looks like. Um,
Yeah.
the different industries that I've worked in are like. Yeah.
Yes, Tantra, we have all specific questions covered so that, we're able to get a deep dive into your entire journey. And I think you've already started off pretty well. And I, for say, I love the brand Chumbak.
Oh,
used its
great.
laptops, even watches. And I was so fascinated when the app came out and the watch with the owl. I mean, it was really nice. So I'm so glad you've worked there. It's a very favorite company. Every time I visit any airport, I definitely check out their stores. So it's a very
Yeah.
quirky brand, as you said, right? So I'm already excited, and I'm sure all of us are equally pumped. Guys, once again, I'm go on with what is it that inspired you to, probably go into the field of marketing, right? So how is it that that inclination came in your journey? And when is it that you realize that, maybe marketing is what is your calling?
Okay. To be very honest with you, I mean, it's something that I just kind of stumbled into. I didn't really plan to get into marketing. I've always been a fairly creative person. Like, I've always really enjoyed writing. And I think I've somewhere kind of realized that marketing could be an interesting segue. Like, it does involve a lot of creativity. Like, in all my jobs, um, even today, there is a creative element, right? Like, I work with a lot of creative folks to create our brand taglines, our creatives, positioning of the brand. And also it involves a lot of consumer strategy, which I've always found very interesting. Because consumer strategy, again, is linked quite closely to consumer psychology, which is a pretty fascinating subject to me. So I don't think I had a moment where I realized that this is my dream or my calling or something like that. I think it just kind of happened. I mean, I started in advertising, which was very creative, and I realized that while I enjoy like how subjective advertising is, I did want a little more objectivity. I did want to see what my input was resulting in. So yeah, I kind of just planned. I just kind of went along with it. I planned as I went along. So yeah.
Right. That makes total sense. Antara, so now that we've talked, what all companies you've been involved post MBA, can you also have a little background on what your pre-MBA profile was? And how is it that ISB happened and how were those 2 years? What all did you learn? Just something pre-MBA.
So pre-MBA was my advertising in Chumbak. So that's what I did pre-MBA. I worked at Lintus and Low Lintus, and I worked in Chumbak. That was my pre-MBA experience. How did ISB happen? Yeah, I think working in Chumbak, I got a lot of exposure to the business side of things because it's such a small organization, right? You kind of see it, you kind of see business moving around you. You kind of see decisions being taken around you, and these are big decisions that you see play out. And I think that was pretty exciting to me, to be so close to the action. And I somewhere realized that I also don't understand a lot about functions like finance, functions like operations. I didn't have any exposure to it at that point of time. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to expand my horizons, I guess. I wanted to be closer to the action, closer to the decision makers. And I think an MBA was a way for me to get there. And it's a single year program, right? ISB is a 1 year program. And yeah, I mean, that's where I kind of got everything I wanted out of it. I mean, I learned a lot about functions, like strategy, planning, operations, all of it. And these were all pretty new to me. And the great thing is we had a lot of case studies, so I could see how it was being implemented in companies, the theoretical concepts that we were learning. Yeah, it was great that way.
Yeah, yeah. Guys, you all can keep on posting your queries in the chat, and we'll be taking them up as in when it comes relevant. Antara, now you said that maybe other functions like strategy and finance is not somewhere that you had much liking towards, right? So there's a question in the Q&A.
Hmm?
I'm confused between choosing marketing or finance for masters. Which one has better scope in future in terms of salary?
Wow, if I had that answer, I mean, like, I think I'd be in a much better position. No, but I think it's really tough to give you like one answer to that. I think both of them have great salary prospects, right? Like marketing also has fantastic prospects, and so does finance. So I don't know. I mean, I can't give you a comparison. And frankly, I don't know anything about roles in finance. Like, I don't know how much finance people get paid. Um, so yeah, I mean, tough for me to answer. I know how much marketing
Yeah.
gets paid, but I have no idea how much finance gets paid.
Can we like maybe talk about how is it that if there's a confusion between two domains, so how can we navigate between those domains? Maybe, some things which can help us figure out, which is your calling, maybe.
Wow, this is a very philosophical question. Um, I think honestly, it's a lot of it is intuition. I think if you know what you like and you know what you don't like, um, that's one thing, definitely. Like you'll have to kind of understand and really note down what are the things you like and what are the things that you don't like. Like, for example, um, when I moved from advertising to marketing, I realized that having no visibility on these objective metrics, like what is the increase in sales, how much is this communication actually moving the needle. I think I kind of realized like to I like to know this data. I like to make decisions basis data um rather than getting a brief from the client and just blindly writing copy for it, right? I mean, that was essentially what advertising is. The client decides everything, like what they want to say and how they want to say it, and you just kind of figure out what to say. um So when I moved to Chumbak, I kind of knew that I wanted something, um, that I was accountable for. I wanted something that I was responsible for. So I kind of have realized through my career that I do like um, being in leadership positions. Like I do enjoy it. I like leading people. I like managing people. So all those things kind of come into play to decide, right? Like for example, if you are confused between marketing and finance, marketing is definitely has more elements of creativity, whereas finance doesn't have as much, right? When it comes to marketing, you are working with a lot of subjectivity. A lot of times you have to guess what the consumer wants. A lot of times you have to make leaps from consumer data. You can't just always give people what they want, right? You will have to sometimes guess what are latent needs that they don't realize that they have. All of that takes some subjectivity. Whereas with finance, there isn't that much subjectivity.
Yeah.
You know, are you okay with subjectivity? Then marketing is great. Are you someone who gets annoyed in subjective discussions? You know, where people are just discussing their opinions. Is that something that you don't like? Then maybe finance would be better for you. But honestly, the only way to figure it out is to try it, is to learn about it. And I mean, I'm guessing all of you are going to do your MBAs, right? Yeah. So during MBA as well, you will firstly learn these subjects and you'll figure out what you like learning about. And secondly, you will also have a lot of peers who have done marketing and both like and finance. And you know, that would really help you understand also that where does your interest lie. Yeah, and it's also a little bit of luck, I mean, you know.
Yeah, that makes
I'm
sense.
breaking the
Uh,
rule. Sorry,
But
Surya, I'm breaking the rule here. So इसका एक analogy मेरे मेंटर ने काफी साल पहले दिया था कि ये जो क्वेश्चन था ना, ये फेवरेट क्वेश्चन है बच्चों का, और बच्चों से ज्यादा बच्चों के पेरेंट्स का क्वेश्चन होता है कि सर आजकल क्या चल रहा है, किसमें करने से अच्छी नौकरी मिलेगी. So that's the typical question students and their parents have. Of course, it is there for good only. मतलब पेरेंट्स कंसर्न है इसलिए वो पूछ रहे हैं.
yeah.
तो मेरे मेंटर ने बोला था कि सतीश, तुम फूड किस बेसिस पे खाते हो. मैंने बोला सर जो मुझे अच्छा लगता है मैं वो खाता हूँ. बफे में इफ देयर आर 100 प्रोडक्ट्स व्हाट विल यू ईट. मैंने बोला सर मैं देखता हूँ जो मुझे अच्छी अच्छी चीजें लगती है मैं वो खा लेता हूँ. बोला करियर चॉइसेस भी ऐसे हैं. यू विल गो एंड यू विल डू सम टेस्ट. मतलब आप एमबीए में फर्स्ट ईयर में यू विल रीड सम सब्जेक्ट्स, यू विल स्टडी सम, यू विल टेक सम कोर्सेस विच आर गोइंग टू बी a lot of different like a buffet. बहुत सारे होंगे. उसमें से तुम इसलिए नहीं खा रहे हो कोई प्रोडक्ट कि इसके अंदर फाइबर ज्यादा है, कार्बोहाइड्रेट ज्यादा है. आइडियली होना चाहिए था, बट हम सब लोग टेस्ट की वजह से खा रहे हैं. ट्रुथ तो यही है. तो मनी यस इज इंपॉर्टेंट, बट मनी की वजह से अगर तुम कोई करियर में चले गए ना, वो फिनांस होने दो, मार्केटिंग होने दो, कल और कोई भी करियर होने दो, यू विल लीव दैट वेरी क्विकली. what will keep you working is if you genuinely like that work. अगर genuinely तुम्हें वो पैशनेट नहीं रहोगे उस वर्क या उस कंपनी के बारे में, इट विल बी वेरी डिफिकल्ट. यू विल योरसेल्फ, जो हम आज मैं शुरू से बात भी कर रहा था कोई कॉन्टेक्स्ट में, कि हम जो सब कैंपस पे इतना फाइट मारते हैं ना कि ड्रीम कंपनी, ड्रीम रोल, दिस वाज माय लाइफ. मतलब these things become life and death sort of things at campus. But very quickly, within 3 years, if you see all your peers, you would have figured it out. A lot of them would have changed their complete career trajectories, and that's absolutely okay. So लॉन्ग टीचर जैसा आंसर था, बट शॉर्ट में हम जैसे खाना चूज करते, किसी को पाव भाजी पसंद है, किसी को डोसा पसंद है, किसी को मंचूरिया पसंद है, राइट. करियर्स भी वैसा है. एंड सबकी प्राइसेस ऑलमोस्ट 150-200 ही रहनी है. Just because if something is very cheap you may not order, or something has more fiber you may not order. जब तक तुम्हें वो पसंद नहीं है तुम वो नहीं खा रहे हो. तो करियर्स भी आगे जाके यू विल प्रोबेबली चूज लाइक दैट. शायद पहली नौकरी यू माइट चेज मनी, but eventually you will have to chase something which you will like,
Yeah.
spending 8 hours a day at least.
That's absolutely true. I think there's a lot of pressure these days to find your passion, to find your calling. I don't think everyone has a passion. I don't think everyone has a calling, and I think that's totally fine as well.
Yeah, right. So, sir, आप कुछ कह रहे हो?
नहीं नहीं, मैं बोल रहा हूँ completely agree with Antara on this,
Yeah.
क्योंकि सो ये सारी चीजें चेंज होती है लोगों की। मतलब पैशन जो मेरा एमबीए फर्स्ट ईयर में था वर्सेस एमबीए करने के 2 साल बाद में है, वो बिल्कुल नहीं है। मतलब जब कॉलेज में था ना, लगता था यार ट्रैवलिंग, ओ कंपनी के पैसों से हमें फ्लाइट में जाएंगे, 5 स्टार होटल्स में रहेंगे, हाउ गुड इट कैन बी। एंड वंस यू हैव एंजॉयड दैट, मतलब हैव गॉन दैट जर्नी फॉर 1.5 year, एंड यू से बॉस आई डोंट वांट दिस एनी मोर।
Yes,
सो आपके
correct.
क्रश क्रश भी चेंज होते रहते हैं ना, आफ्टर 2-3 years, 5 years। ये भी आपका करियर चॉइसेस भी ऐसे थोड़े थोड़े इवॉल्व होंगे, मतलब योर टेस्ट विल कीप इवॉल्विंग। सो प्लीज बी ओपन टू दैट, बस यही बोलूंगा। तो पैशन वो बहुत ज्यादा ओवररेटेड चीज था। सो ऑल विल यू विल गो थ्रू ऑल दिस जर्नी, सो जस्ट रिलैक्स राइट नाउ।
Right. Fair. So, Antara, you were talking about, you mentioned very briefly that, you moved from advertising to marketing, and, you saw the shift, even in the domain of marketing, we may be using advertising and marketing very interchangeably, right? But when you actually work in such roles, there's a huge difference. Maybe advertising is where you see an instant result, but marketing is somewhere where you are not able to map, as you mentioned, right? So can we little bit, Antara, talk about what are the various roles in marketing, especially, and also, as Satish sir also mentioned, entry level roles like KSM or TSM in a normal MBA schools, which are normally offered.
Sorry, what is TSM and ASM? Can you just tell me what?
ASM is area sales manager, which a lot of FMCG companies have.
Oh, right.
Uh,
Right. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Gosh. So ASM and what is the other one? TSM, you said.
Yeah, it's a territory sales manager.
This one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is very FMCG, which is not an industry that I've really worked
Yeah.
in the client side, right? I've worked in advertising. So I'm not sure what this is, but I think this is sales, right? Like this is where you kind of like your HULs and L'Oreals and stuff normally hire you in sales positions where you are assigned a certain territory and you have to drive sales and like really you have to manage your sales managers, you have to manage distributors. Um, but yeah, I've not worked there. So I'm not sure if I can provide too much insight about it. Um, yeah, that would be a little tough for me to provide, but I can tell you like broadly what are the roles in marketing. Um, so I'll start with brand marketing, right? Which is basically what I know. So I'm currently a brand manager, right? Um, and essentially what I do is mainly look into like the top of the funnel, right? If you think about marketing like a funnel, you have awareness, consideration, and purchase. So what I mainly drive is awareness and consideration. And the way that we do that is through mass media advertising. So whether that is hoardings or TV commercials or digital campaigns, um, you know, that reach 1 million plus people. So that's essentially what I do, and that is what most brand managers do. And also, we work on brand strategy and positioning, um, which is basically what do we want our brand to be in the minds of the consumer. And it involves a lot of consumer strategy as well. So that is what brand marketing is, and it looks into top of the funnel. Then you have bottom of the funnel, which is mainly handled by digital marketing, uh, which is also known as performance marketing, right? So under performance marketing, you could either handle CRM, which is retention. By retention, what we mean is PNs, like push notifications, emailers, reaching out to your existing consumer base and getting them to interact with your product. right? So that is what CRM is. And then you have acquisition. And acquisition is mainly doing targeted campaigns. And this could be Google campaigns, it could be Facebook campaigns, it could be like campaigns that you run on, like, say, ClickBuzz, where you've identified that this particular website or platform has a lot of your TG, which is your target group, right? And by target group, I mean, how you identify it is you have a consumer base, right? You kind of figure out what are the traits of your consumer base, and you develop lookalike audiences. And by lookalike, it means that you find cohorts that are similar to the cohorts you already have using your product or using your app, whatever it is, right? And that's how you target them. So that is what digital marketing is, right? It has acquisition and retention. Apart from that, something that we also do at Tata Digital is something called content marketing. So content marketing is more long form, where you have blog posts, you have long form articles, and you kind of create like a brand magazine. And the reason that you do this is to drive frequency to your app. Like, for example, if an app does it, like how Tata Digital does it, what they do is they write long form content that is interesting so that people will open the app more, and read the content more. So that's one of the ways to use content marketing. And then you also, something that has really started growing in India is product marketing. And basically what product marketing is, so product marketing also does have a very large element of sales, because a lot of product marketers are B2B, right? They interact with businesses, they don't interact with consumers. And that is very, like, there's a huge difference between B2C and B2B, right? B2B clients are more, like, B2B consumers are far more in the know, like they're very aware of your product, they're very aware of your features. And as a result, if you are going to be a marketer, you need to know more than them. So basically B2, like, product marketing has a lot of sales involved. And apart from that also, as it's developing in India, right now, it's a lot of it is managing your website, managing emailers, getting leads. So all of that is what product marketing is. Yeah, and that's basically broadly what are the different roles you could do in marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my focus has mainly been social media marketing and brand marketing.
Right. So, guys, if you have any questions specifically for social media marketing and brand marketing, ma'am will be happy to answer it. So, Andra, we have a question in the chat box. So, Pranav says that I have heard that companies pressure freshers for marketing jobs after an MBA. Also, they give sales tasks before going to a marketing role.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's very normal in FMCG. So generally in FMCG, you don't get to brand marketing unless you go through sales. So yeah, this is true. Like,
right.
if you get hired by a big FMCG firm like a P&G or an HUL, you will not be a brand manager for the first 2 to 3 years. It's only after your sales stint do you move to brand management. So yeah, that's true actually for big FMCG companies. But I mean, the thing is, FMCG is it's very traditional, things have changed in marketing in a very big way. If you want to skip sales, you can totally do it now, because you can be a brand manager for an e-com company like I am, right? You could be a brand manager for a digital services company. Like, you could be a brand manager for a D2C company, right? So D2C brands don't really have a sales department. I mean, it's all marketing. So I think thinking FMCG first is not necessary, right? You'll get so many different brands apart from FMCG coming to your campuses. So yeah, I think if you want to skip sales, you absolutely can. There are like a lot of ways you can do it.
Right. And also, do these companies prefer freshers over work-ex?
I don't I think you know what, I think there are certain roles that prefer freshers, right? Like I know that FMCG brand companies especially, right, they prefer freshers. And the reason they prefer freshers is because they like to develop, like they like to imbibe that culture in their employees at a very young age, right? And they want you to kind of start with sales because their belief is that the best brand managers come from strong sales backgrounds, right? So that is the belief of like a traditional FMCG company. So definitely, I think FMCG prefers freshers. But yeah, when it comes to other industries, right, like retail and e-commerce, digital services, SaaS, all of that, I think there is no preference towards freshers or work-ex. I mean, it's an open playing field in these industries.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Anita, also, we already talked about, what is your job and what all have you done? Can we also now, since now you're working at Tata Digital, right? So, can we have a sneak peek into what does your day look like on a daily basis?
Okay, great. I mean, that's a great question. So basically, right now, Tata is the sponsor for IPL, and Tata New is a co-sponsor. So right now, I am working on IPL, and if I had to tell you what a day in my life looks like, right? So we are currently running advertising spots, so advertising films basically on TV and Geo Cinema, on Star Sports and Geo Cinema, and we're also running them on news channels. And the metrics that we are looking to drive is mainly installs and traffic. So what my day to day right now is to evaluate the impact that the TV campaign and the digital campaign has had on our top of the funnel metrics. So there are many ways you can do this. So one of the things that we are trying to understand right now, for example, is whether the reach of IPL has declined. And what this means is, so day on day, right, if you reach 10 people on day one, then you will probably reach only 8 new people on day two, right? So as IPL runs for more days, what ends up happening is your reach kind of plateaus. You don't reach any new people. And what we're trying to now understand is what is the impact of that on our installs. So it involves working with our media agency very closely. It involves working with our data team very closely. So right now, what my job entails is data analysis to figure out how to refine my media plan. So that is what my day to day looks like right now.
I think that's pretty insightful. Antara, we have a couple more questions in the chat. So Harshal is asking, is it necessary to be creative minded to build a career in marketing? And if not, what are the skills and knowledge needed?
Hmm. No, I don't think you need to be creative. I mean, honestly, right now, the amount of data that I'm working with, I really wish I was more mathematically minded. Like I do wish I had stronger quant skills. So I don't think it's true anymore. I think right now in marketing, there is a massive emphasis on data, right? Any change I make on my media plan, for example, I am asked to justify through data. If I'm changing the targeting of my media plan, why? And I'll have to prove it through data. If I'm seeing a decline in installs, I have to really deep dive into it. And the best way to do it is through data. So right now, I think marketing has become really dependent on data. So if you are someone who's not very creative, I think it's totally fine. I think where creativity really comes in is when you have to interpret consumer research, and you have to develop taglines and creatives based on what the consumer is telling you. So I think that is where creativity comes in. And honestly, that's a skill you can learn. Like, I don't think people are born creative or born logical. I mean, I think these are all skills that you can really pick up while you're doing the job.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. So we have one more question, asking this anonymously. Okay. I
Hmm?
wanted to know the role of maths in the field of marketing. I'm very weak when it comes to maths and logical reasoning, but I'm very inclined towards marketing.
Mhm.
So does being weak in math affect someone's marketing career in the long run? Adit will come to you in a second.
Okay, so whoever that anonymous person is asked a great question, because I'm actually very weak at maths. So the truth is I hate maths and I'm terrible at it. Okay, so that's the truth. I've struggled with maths for most of my life. And before I did my MBA, even I had this question. I was worried that because I'm not good at maths, I'm not going to get into an MBA program, and B, I'm not really going to get a job after the MBA program. Uh, Fortunately, we're living in a generation now where it doesn't really matter. I think, uh, I think if you have a well-rounded profile, it is honestly enough. If you show your intent, right? Like, I think more than maths, businesses are concerned about hiring people who have high intent and accountability, right? Like, are you someone who is willing to plug the gaps in their knowledge? Are you willing to work hard, to get past your barriers? And I think that is more important than being good in maths. Whether if it affects your career in the long term, I think you should ask me in a couple of years. I don't know right now if it's going to affect my career in the long term. I hope not. Um, but honestly, right now in my job, in my current role, I think I'm managing fine without maths. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Again,
Um,
barging like repeat offender. हाँ तो इसको थोड़ा सा स्ट्रक्चर करते हैं कि आप जब जॉब में कर रहे होते हो ना, तो ऐसे आपको कैट एग्जाम जैसा या जीमैट एग्जाम जैसा कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं होता है कि 100 यूनिट्स थे, 2 घंटे में ये हुआ, 4 घंटे में ये हुआ, फिर अब क्या होगा। भाई सिंपल स्प्रेडशीट यूज करते हो, एक्सेल यूज करते हो, फॉर्मूला डालोगे, राइट। तो नोबडी, योर बॉस विल नॉट आस्क यू 278 into 480 का मल्टीप्लीकेशन करके बताओ तुरंत,
Yeah.
राइट। सो डोंट वरी अबाउट दोस दोस थिंग्स। एंड ये फनल होता है, मतलब नंबर्स हैव टू मेक सेंस। कई बार तुम रैंडम नंबर्स थ्रो करोगे तो इट इज नॉट गुड फॉर पीपल। स्टोरी होनी चाहिए एट द बैक ऑफ दोज नंबर्स। व्हाट बिकम्स मोर इंपॉर्टेंट इज हाउ डू यू जस्टिफाई दोज थिंग्स। जैसे अगेन वी वर डिस्कसिंग टुडे फनल। फनल
Hmm.
क्या होता है कि इंडिया में इफ लेट्स से 140 करोड़ पॉपुलेशन है, लेट्स से 40 करोड़ और 60 करोड़ पीपल आर देयर ऑन इंस्टाग्राम। अगर टाटा न्यू जो मतलब जो प्रोडक्ट है या जो ऐप है, if they want to reach through IPL they are trying to reach, that's one mechanism, right? एंड ऐप इंस्टॉल ट्रैक कर रहे हैं। मतलब यूनिवर्स अगर 40, मान लेते हैं यूनिवर्स 60 करोड़ है, इफ दे हैव रीच्ड ऑलरेडी 6 करोड़, दे विल ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड कि बाकी के में 54 करोड़ कैसे लोगों को कैसे पहुंचू। इसका एक एग्जांपल ये हो सकता है कि यूनिलीवर्स के प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, दोज आर रीचिंग लेट्स से 20 करोड़ पीपल, 20 करोड़ पॉपुलेशन। दे माइट डू ए क्रॉस ब्रांड कैंपेन, एंड यूनिलीवर्स की शायद रेड लेबल चाय के ऊपर नियो ऐप इंस्टॉल करो और 20 रुपए कूपन पाओ, या 200 रुपए का तनिष्क वाचर पाओ। एनीथिंग दे कैन डू, राइट। सो दैट इज द नंबर। मतलब यहाँ पे नंबर के पीछे एक स्ट्रॉन्ग रीजन है, आप क्यों कर रहे हो, कैसे कर रहे हो। सो मतलब डोंट वरी अबाउट बीइंग इन वीक इन मैथ। और आपको कोई ऐसे रैंडमली आके पूछने वाला नहीं है और सब आप गूगल कर सकते हो, स्प्रेडशीट देख सकते हो, कैलकुलेटर यूज कर सकते हो. Absolutely open. People are open about it. Nobody
You
is
can ask
going to ask you.
ChatGPT also. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, we have two questions from Aditi Gupta. So she asks that, do you think that a college made a huge difference? Like, would ISB versus IIM versus MICA make a difference in 10 years into the career?
Guys, I know I look old, but I'm really not 10 years into my career. But no, so I think do colleges can is Aditi Gupta on the call?
I hope so. Yeah, just let me check.
Mr. गुप्ता कॉल पे भी है, माइका कन्वर्ट किया है, इसलिए पूछ रहे हैं.
Yes, sir. Aditi,
Okay.
can you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Hi, Aditi. So Aditi, can I just understand why you're asking me this question? Hello?
Aditi, you are not audible.
Hello.
Hello? Hi.
It's Aditya. It's not Aditya Orya. मेरा question.
No, not you, not you. Aditi Gupta, I've unmuted you, not audible.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's fine. So I don't think it matters. I really don't think it matters whether it's IIM or ISB or MICA. I don't think it matters.
Right. I think she's converted Micah, so her follow-up question is also similar. She asked that, what is better for a creative person, marketing or advertisement? Asking because they are both a specialization in Micah.
I think I mean, I honestly think marketing is broader. And I think advertising is a little too it's a little too how do I explain it? Yeah, I think marketing is far broader, as a field. I didn't love advertising for the reasons that I mentioned. A lot of it is like, for example, if you're doing planning, right? Even if you're doing planning, because out of MICA, you generally get into like planning at an ad agency. Even when you're doing planning, you don't get a lot of proprietary data from the brand, right? You can't ask them what their install numbers are or what their sales numbers are, because this data is like highly confidential, and it's generally not shared. Hello?
Yeah, I'm on. Thank you so much for answering. I'm sorry, for some reason my browser was preventing me from answering
That's
previously.
totally fine. That's
I'm
totally
asking because like a lot of the alumni who are working out
fine.
there,
Mhm.
they talked about like that there is a certain expectation from people from MICA that oh they are coming from a creative mindset, so they
Mhm.
are offered certain kind of roles, but that sometimes becomes like a trap door or like a glass ceiling that beyond that then they are unable to move. So I wanted to ask it because of this reason, that does are they stuck with advertisement or are they able to move to different kind of roles that maybe ISB or IM offers?
Hmm. No, I totally get where you're coming from, right? Because I mean, even I had all these questions when I was deciding my MBA program. I had very similar questions. The thing is, I think nowadays, I there is some truth to it. Like there is some truth to it that recruiters do do see certain colleges and students that come out of a certain college a certain way. Like this is definitely true. They do have this bias. And maybe it might impact your first job, but it really doesn't impact it beyond your first job. Because beyond your first job, um, where you did college is it just not as important.
Right. uh,
Yeah.
And one more question pertaining to marketing also. What's like the most chill job in marketing?
Most chill job in marketing. Um,
Yeah, like like finance is really hectic. Then within finance also, if you're like a VP or something, you're going crazy crunching numbers. But then if you're just like in a bank, it's fine. So
That's true. I mean, you're right. Banks are fine. Honestly, brand marketing is not very hectic. Like it is hectic during campaigns. Like when you have campaigns running, it's very hectic. But when you don't have campaigns running, brand marketing can also be quite chill, actually. Um, Performance marketing is not very chill. I think like if you're in performance marketing, you're expected to do a lot of operational work. Like you're expected to churn out creatives every day. So I don't think performance is very chill, but I think brand marketing is quite chill. Uh, can I ask why do you want a more chill role? Is that what you're looking for?
what I'm looking for is that I'm aware that right into my career I would want to have the most hectic job possible, because right now I have no liabilities, no responsibilities. I can give all of it to my job,
Yeah,
absorb, learn as much as I can.
yeah.
But maybe 5 6 years down the line, 10 years down the line, I will be 35, 40. I would want to know what are the options available, and if it ever gets a little slower where you can focus on other things in life
Yeah, I
and
think
stuff like
I think I think it totally also depends in the on the company that you're in, right? Like, so I work for Tata, and Tata is quite a chill company. Um, and it really depends on which company you're in, like, because you could have a very high designation, but if it's a slower company like Tata, then you will definitely be able to slow down. You'll be able to have a life, prioritize other things. Um, so yeah, I think if you are in a startup though, it will be most likely quite hectic.
right. And just one more question: is there any like a geographic limitation to marketing? Like, is does do marketing roles come like, okay, this geography, like you're working in Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, but apart from that, maybe it's the market's a little slim or something like that. Uh,
I definitely do feel that. I mean, I'm being brutally honest. But I definitely do feel that. Like, for example, if you want FMCG, you will most likely have to be in Bombay. If you want a startup or a role in digital marketing, you would most probably be in Bangalore. Um, so yeah, I think there is a geographical limitation, definitely.
right. Thank you very much for answering my questions.
Sure.
And you look gorgeous. You don't look old. It was just like me planning ahead.
I was just joking.
Okay, all right. Adit, you raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Hello.
Yeah.
So I am having a question that actually I was talking with my one of the friend. She passed out from the good college, and currently she is getting laid off even after doing MBA. So she was working at Genpact and working at the role for the transition management.
Okay.
So currently their company is actually doing a outsourcing with the Goldman Sachs. So
Okay.
there is solution coming up into the marketing also, because currently the chat GPT is coming up. They are coming up with the different creative ideas. They are coming up with the content management. So
Mhm.
how is any kind of situation like arise in your career, and how you tackle it? Because we are also going for the same in the future. So is there
Mhm.
any kind of courses we have to go with, or like we have to keep up our mindset that there will be a head-to-head fight even after at the age of 35 or something?
Hmm. Yeah, I think I mean I've definitely thought about this myself, Adit. I think uh see, I mean there is a lot in marketing that still requires human intervention, that a chat GPT cannot probably replace you. But what is also true about India as a market is that currently we are producing quite a lot of MBA graduates, right? So the market has a lot of supply. Um, and it's not always the case that the market has a lot of demand. There are some periods when there is high demand. Like when I graduated from ISB, right? It was 2022. and the market had just recovered from COVID, which means companies were very bullish about hiring. And what ended up happening is in 2023 and 24, companies had to lay off because in 22 they overhired. So I think more than AI taking over our jobs, I think the larger challenge for us is definitely going to be competition. India is a highly competitive market, and it's getting only steeper. Like the competition is only getting steeper. So I think honestly, the best you can do is keep upskilling yourself. I think one of, even I was talking to my friend about this, and she's currently a product marketing manager. And I think that is a great way to foolproof your career, right? Because product marketing is something that's not really come to India yet, but it is a huge area of growth. There are now a lot of SaaS companies that are coming out of India, and there is a dearth of product marketing managers. So that is a field that is desperate for supply, right? But something like an FMCG probably doesn't have any dearth of supply. They have enough supply. So I think it's more about identifying industries and being more agile, right? And like just upskilling. I don't know if that answered your question.
The
But
point
yeah.
is that like companies are hiring on the name of she hired at the place of the product management, but they put organization management. She hired for the different role, but currently she was working for something else.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
outsourcing because they are thinking that the Goldman Sachs can take it over. So
Yeah.
now, whomever they were like they actually hired, all the people are getting laid off. But the
Yeah.
because of some he is getting somewhere else. So such kind of thing happen in the MBA like they are hired for you for the particular marketing management, but they are putting you into something else, and now you are looking for like something else in the future.
No, that does happen. It does happen, and it's happened to people out of ISB as well, where they've been hired for roles and then the company has shut down. That has also happened, like shut down and literally laid off all employees. So, I mean, I would like to reassure you and tell you that no, it's fine and it doesn't happen. But actually, the truth is, it does happen. And
Thing is, you are already having an experience, so you must be
yeah.
like of your time like out of 24 hours you must have certain time for yourself, so maybe you are like preparing something, so it can be help for us as a person.
Sorry, what was the question?
Is that you must be upskilling yourself because you know about the situation you are
Yeah.
having a, so there will be a time out of your 24-hour schedule that you are putting up for yourself. In that
Yeah.
time, you do the something upskilling yourself for certain of the upcoming new field. So it will be helpful for us to look into
Yes,
that.
definitely.
Like in the marketing, what are the areas which cannot be replaced by the chat GPT or cannot be replaced by the AI in the future?
So, I mean, like I said, right, one of them is definitely product marketing. The other one is definitely, like to an extent, also brand marketing, right? Because a lot of what we do is optimizations on media plans, and that is something that maybe 50 years in the future, ChatGPT can do. It's not beyond the scope of ChatGPT, but it is a very complex process. And it involves a lot of intuition, right? So I think careers where there is some creativity, there is some intuition, I think they would probably outlast AI, and that is where upskilling is important. And honestly, also understanding AI, right? As a marketer, how can you work with AI? How can you leverage AI to achieve your marketing objectives? Now, if you are someone who is excellent at using AI, you are immediately an asset to the company, right? Because again, that is a growth area. Not many people understand artificial intelligence, understand LLMs. But if you are someone who is comfortable working with it, then immediately you become more valuable. So I think that is probably what I'd have to say. I'm sorry, I don't know if I helped you, but
I got your answer. Like,
Right.
I'd have to say it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll
और क्या हो
quickly move
जाता है,
on. हाँ, हाँ
सॉरी
जी
सॉरी
सर
अगेन ऑफेंडर, अब जब पनिशमेंट मिलेगा ही तो एक खून करो 100 खून करो, पनिशमेंट तो मिलेगा ही, तो कर ही लेते हैं। तो आदित्य, जो तुमने क्वेश्चन पूछा ना बेटा, इसका क्या होता है कि बहुत सारे कंपनीज में हम ये मान के चल रहे हैं कि दीज आर कांस्टेंट। नो, कंपनीज भी एवॉल्व हो रही हैं। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल पहले इंडिया में सिर्फ कोक पेप्सी प्रोडक्ट्स थे, अब उसके अंदर भी डिफरेंट कैटेगरी आने लग जाती है। जैसे एनर्जी ड्रिंक आएगी, स्टिंग आएगा, तो स्टिंग के लिए उनको लॉन्च मैनेजर चाहिए, राइट? एक ब्रांड जो भी मैनेज कर रहे हैं उसमें से एक टीम बनेगी, और लॉन्च मैनेजर कई बार एक बंदा नहीं होता, इट कैन बी ए टीम, एंड दे नीड टू सॉर्ट अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स टुगेदर, इवेंट्स, creatives, news, to a certain extent also PR। ये सारे जब कोऑर्डिनेशन चल रहे हैं, देयर आर मल्टीपल पीपल रिक्वायर इन द मार्केटिंग डोमेन इटसेल्फ, राइट? अब हम ये सारी जब एआई ऑटोमेशन ये सब आ रहे हैं, तो सबसे पहले तो ये मतलब फेसबुक गूगल्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड में होना चाहिए था, राइट? रिसेंटली एक्चुअली मेटा इज डबलिंग डाउन इन इंडिया, देयर मार्केटिंग टीम। वो क्या कर रही है, इससे पहले तक इंस्टाग्राम यूज टू हैव, पहले तो फेसबुक इंडिया में एक ही मार्केटिंग मैनेजर बैठते थे, फिर उन्होंने अलग अलग प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए अलग अलग प्रोडक्ट मार्केटिंग मैनेजर्स लाए हैं। व्हाट्सएप के लिए अलग है, इंस्टा के लिए अलग है, फेसबुक के लिए अलग है। रिसेंटली फॉर इंस्टा दे हैव डन डबल डाउन, मतलब इंस्टा के अंदर रीजनल लेवल पे चले गए वो, because they want more and more people to come to the platform, use, create content। so उन्होंने तेलुगु के लिए तेलुगु प्रोडक्ट मार्केटिंग मैनेजर सॉर्ट ऑफ लिया है, एंड वैसे ही उन्होंने बंगाली के लिए। दीज आर द 2-3 लैंग्वेजेस दे आर एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग, क्योंकि देर आर सम, आई थिंक ए कपल ऑफ रीजनल प्लेयर्स आर ऑल्सो देर इन दिस स्पेस। they were giving good competition from the tier 2 tier 3 sort of towns, are regional specific social media apps। तो ये कंपनीज भी डबल डाउन कर रही हैं। तो हमें कई बार लग रहा होता है यार आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस आ गया, ये सब हो गया, तो शायद इनको मार्केटिंग मैनेजर ही नहीं चाहिए, बट ये तो ज्यादा ले रहे हैं, राइट? सो थिंग्स विल कीप एवॉल्विंग। जैसे एफएमसीजी में वो पूरा उनको मतलब मार्केटिंग का पूरा जो स्ट्रक्चर चाहिए चाहिए, नेशनल मार्केटिंग हेड, मतलब रीजनल मार्केटिंग हेड्स होंगे, एंड देन हर ब्रांड के लिए अलग होंगे। मतलब डिटर्जेंट अगर तुम देखोगे, व्हील के लिए अलग होगा, सर्फ एक्सेल के लिए अलग होगा, और सर्फ एक्सेल में भी ग्लोबल मार्केटिंग मैनेजर होगा जो बेस्ड आउट ऑफ हेड ऑफिस बैठेगा। दाग अच्छे हैं, और विम जो नींबू की शक्ति, एंड दीज थिंग्स विल कीप, मतलब नया नया आते जाएगा। फेयर एंड लवली का फिर ग्लो एंड लवली हो गया, तो पूरा लंबा बड़ा बड़ा कैंपेन चलते हैं ये सारे। तो लॉन्ग आंसर कि क्या करियर्स खत्म हो जाएंगे? नो, करियर्स विल एवॉल्व इज व्हाट आई कैन से, राइट? सो क्या पहले एक एक टाइम था जब न्यूज़पेपर का एक एड बना दो, साल भर वो चल जाता था। नाउ यू नीड टू कीप चर्निंग आउट, सो यू नीड टू कीप डूइंग मोर ऑफन रिपीटेटिव थिंग्स। सो सॉरी।
Yeah.
So I think we have like some more questions.
Yeah. So moving on, I think we have a couple of more questions. So Vishwaja, do you have a question? Please unmute yourself.
Oh, yes, okay. So, my first question is that, as you said that you're a brand manager, so like what are the like what is the progress? Like we know that if a person is in finance, then after maybe financial analyst, they can go into investment banking, and then the apex is like hedge fund. So, what is something like that in the field of marketing?
Hmm. I mean, there are a couple of things you can do, right? Like, for example, you can continue to be a brand manager, and then you kind of become head of a division, right? Like, so within Tata Digital, for example, the way that it's organized is that you have brand managers who report to a brand lead, and the brand lead reports to the chief brand officer. So you can go all the way there. You can get to chief brand officer. And you have the performance marketing side that has a very similar structure, right? Where they have growth managers who report to an acquisition lead and a retention lead. Um, and those two report to a central performance marketing head. And they report to the CMO. So you can literally go right up to leading a division. You can go up to being a CMO. So yeah, I mean, that is basically the journey of a marketing, of someone in marketing.
And are there any jobs that are like target based, or they are in the beginning or they are afterwards also?
Yeah, I mean, target based, I think, honestly, there are things like, for example, product marketing, which I don't know why I've spoken about it so much, but for example, product marketing does start out with a lot of targets, right? Because they are product marketing, even sales, start out with a lot of targets. You need to, and of course, product marketing and SaaS and all of that is a little more complex because you need to win over clients, right? You need to win over people who know a lot about the industry, know a lot about the product. Whereas in something like an FMCG, consumers don't know that much, right? There is an information asymmetry where you know more than the consumer. So yeah, I mean, definitely that that is all target based. You need to meet targets. For performance marketing, it's very target based again. You will be given a target of, let's say, 5% CTR, and you need to achieve that. So a lot of things in marketing are target oriented.
Okay, and one more question is, as you said that you are managing like the like brand management. So is it similar like like what I've seen, like I don't know anything, but it may sound informal, but I've seen a web series named Emily in Paris. So is it similar to that, like managing a social media handle and new strategies for the brand to be seen everywhere and something like that?
Yeah, it is. I mean, not exactly like Emily in Paris, because of course, I really wish my job was like that. Uh, but it's no, not it's not. So a lot of it is pretty operational. I think most people forget that marketing is actually very operational. You have to churn out creatives. You have to create UTMs to track the creatives. You need to create reports where you track installs day on day, for example. So a lot of it is very operational. I think you move into strategy much later in your career. Like where I'm, because this is my first job after my MBA, a lot of what I do is operational. Um, so the next step would be strategy, whereas in Emily in Paris, she starts with strategy somehow, without doing too much of the operational work. So no, it's not exactly like that. Yeah.
Okay. So is it that operations and supply chain management, they go well with marketing? Like if a person is in operation and supply chain management, and then if they want to switch, so it will be easier for them to switch into marketing than anyone else with a different specialization?
No. So what I mean by operations is I mean operational tasks. So by operational tasks, I mean be it updating sheets, be it updating creatives, things like that. So not the operations in that we talk about in operations and supply chain, which is totally different. So this is basically maybe rather than operations, maybe the word I can use is it is a lot of execution. A lot of what you do initially in marketing is just execution. You don't do much strategy.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Guys, just the last couple of questions and then we'll stop bothering you, Antara. We'll be wrapping up the session very soon. So Ananya, please go ahead. Ananya?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question like I have done my graduation in communication design and I have worked as a graphic designer.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm currently preparing for CAT. So, what are the skill set or the course should I do to build my portfolio?
Where do you work right
It's
now?
like I was currently working in Thrilophilia, a travel company.
I know Halo Film.
Yeah.
Okay, and what do you do for them?
So, my job role was working as a graphic designer in marketing team.
Okay. Hmm.
So where I was like, my major responsibility was to design creative for various different channels, like for marketing, social media, or performance marketing, newsletter. Like the creative was the graphic designing part.
Got it, got it. I think honestly, what MBAs do like seeing on what MBA recruiters do like seeing on their resumes, right? On the resumes of the people they admit is generally some sort of strategy experience. Honestly, what you are describing to me does involve a lot of strategy, right? Because you do it for
Mm-hmm.
different marketing channels, which means I'm guessing you are tailoring your communication to different marketing channels, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think you're in a pretty good place right now. If you can maybe within your current company itself take up more strategy calls, right? Like basically, if you can take a more visible role in strategy,
Mm-hmm.
working more closely with your core marketing team, right?
Okay.
And doing projects with them. So, for example, in Chumbak, I used to work very closely with the graphic designers, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I used to take my ideas from them as well. Like we used to do brainstorms on social media campaigns where they used to give me some really great ideas as well, and we used to collaborate. So if you could maybe, I'm sure you also have marketing managers, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so maybe just, yeah, like suggesting, like giving ideas to your marketing managers, doing brainstorms with them, and having like actioning one of your suggestions, right? I think that really shows initiative and it shows your interest. So I think if you could do that, that would be really great.
Apart from that, if I want to do some online course, so if you
I
could
mean,
suggest like
you can do an online course, but I'll be honest, that doesn't really differentiate you, you know, because anyone could do an online course, right? It's right now, which is a great thing. It's great that anyone can do it, but also therefore it's not a differentiator. So it
okay.
will definitely it will make you look more well-rounded and all of that. But I think the most powerful thing that you can do is leverage your work experience. I think that is probably the most powerful thing you can do.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Aditi, do you have any other question also? Okay, I think that is sorted. She lowered her
I,
hand.
if I could just
Okay,
take 2 more minutes. Yeah.
please quickly do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Question number one is what kind of career trajectory do we see in time in terms of like fiscal reward? I mean, ISB might be on the higher end of the package, but as a general career in marketing
Mm-hmm.
across roles, what is an average? Question number one. Question number two, what are a few things that you wish your MBA course taught you as a marketing person that you now feel like if I had learned this better in my college, it would have been better for me? um, Question number three is what is a product man? What is a product? What do you say? Marketer. What does that involve exactly?
Wow.
Thank you.
So I think the first question, what is the salary range, right? Um, Honestly, I think your salary, like in marketing, like I'm just saying across the board, right? And I'm assuming you are asking for first job post MBA. So your salary range would be anywhere between 15 LPA right up to 35 LPA. Like that is how massive the range can be. Of course, the 35 and the slightly higher range is generally for people who have a little more experience. And it's for people who crack things like HUL and L'Oreal and P&G and stuff like that. So I would say that that would be the broad range. Your second question was, what was your second question? I'm sorry, I forgot your second question.
Skills that you wish MBA had taught you
Yeah,
that it probably didn't, or in
honestly,
terms of like working with AI right now,
hmm.
things that we could learn right now which might be beneficial to us 2 years down the line, because अभी AI का कोर्स आते आते कॉलेज में इतना टाइम लग जाएगा कि हमारा कॉलेज पूरा हो जाएगा.
Yeah. So I think definitely something that I wish I had more of is more Indian based case studies. I think there are a lot of business case studies about American companies that you can read. Because there's just so much written about American companies, but I do wish I had more case studies about Indian companies, because I mean our cultural environment is so different, right, compared to US. That's something I definitely wish I had more of. Um, yeah, I think things like AI and all, I still do have access to courses that I can do on it. So I would say just about that, because you do study a lot of, you discuss a lot of case studies in your MBA, and they have like a pretty big impact in how you think about businesses. So I definitely wish I had more Indian based case studies. What was the third one? Product marketing management. Yeah, so product marketing management, I mean, honestly, I'm not sure if I'm the perfect person to tell you, because I've not done it before. But essentially, a lot of it is B2B sales. Like you will have a product, a SaaS, like a software product, for example, that you need to sell to your clients. So you would have to identify consumer cohorts. What is your target consumer? You'd have to identify um, what would the pricing structure of your offerings be, and you'd have to decide what platforms to reach out your target audience through. So that is a lot of what product marketing management is. It is like I'd mentioned, right? It is a lot of sales. So yeah, that is what product marketing management is.
Got it. Thank you so much. Going back to my first question, it is like right off the bat, fine, it's 30 up to 35, 15 to 35. What's it like maybe 5 years down the line, if you have any idea, or 10 years down the line, if you have any concept of it?
Yeah, honestly, it could go up to like 60, 70 LPA. I mean, yeah, I honestly, I can't tell you what the upper range is.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm
Antara, I think that's pretty much, as you said, sky's the limit, and we cannot delve much into the specifics. We'll be closing the session now. Lavanya, I'm just going to lower your hand. We'll not be able to take any more questions. Antara has other commitments. It's already 1.5 hours into the session. So having said that, Satish sir, with your permission, can we close the session?
Yes, I think we should. I already Antra has covered a lot of things, and
Yeah.
thanks
I
a
hope
lot,
I was
Antra, for
helpful.
this.
I'm not sure if I was, but I hope I was.
Yeah, Antara, you did
Product
definitely give a lot of
management का
comprehensive answers to a lot of
प्रोडक्ट
queries.
मार्केटिंग मैनेजर का कोई पूछ रहे थे ना, एक एग्जांपल दे देता हूँ.
हाँ.
सो सुपर एप्स बन रहे हैं आजकल बहुत सारे, राइट? टाटा ऑफ कोर्स इज मेकिंग वन, अडानी विल बी मेकिंग वन, बिरला इज प्लानिंग टू कम इनटू दिस, महिंद्रा हैज आल्सो सर्टेन प्लान्स. तो एक सो आई थिंक 5-7 years बैक देयर यूज्ड टू बी समथिंग कॉल्ड एज हेल्प चार्ट. वो भी ऐसा ही कुछ कर रहा था. तो वहां पे क्या होता है, दे ट्राई टू ब्रिंग ऑल डिफरेंट सर्विसेज ऑन टू ए सिंगल ऐप. तो वहां पे जो पर्सन इन्वॉल्व होता है वो कई बार प्रोडक्ट मार्केटिंग मैनेजर ही कर रहा है एक तरीके से. दे एक्ट लाइक ए मॉल. वो मॉल के अंदर डिफरेंट डिफरेंट ब्रांड्स कम इन टू दैट पिक्चर. टाटा के पास तो चलो उनके इन हाउस बहुत सारी कंपनीज हैं, बट अडानी के पास ये सब नहीं होंगे जब कंज्यूमर ब्रांड्स. अडानी वन बोल के भी ऐप बना रहा है. यहाँ पे आई थिंक अहमदाबाद एयरपोर्ट पे वो कुछ पायलट्स भी कर रहे हैं वहां पे, राइट? दे आर इंटीग्रेटिंग सम फूड ब्रांड्स. अगर डोमिनोज को भी अडानी ऐप के अंदर आना है, देर आर गोइंग टू बी सर्टन customer experiences with both sides would want to, certain data sharings that all will happen. ये सारी चीजें कई बार प्रोडक्ट मार्केटिंग मैनेजर्स इन्वॉल्व होते हैं। अभी जो पेमेंट इंटीग्रेशंस है पहले बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स हुआ करते थे। आज तो आप जाओ रेजर पे क्लिक करो एंड इट्स ए एपीआई इंटीग्रेशन डायरेक्टली। आज से 6-7 साल पहले दैट यूज टू टेक लाइक समटाइम्स मंथ्स। तो प्रोडक्ट मार्केटिंग मैनेजर वहां पे भी इन्वॉल्व होते थे। एंड समटाइम्स पार्टनरशिप्स एंड अलायंसेस स्लैश में भी यूज किया जाता है। जैसे सैमसंग है, सैमसंग कभी कभी रिलायंस के साथ में मिलके या कोई भी इट इट कैन बी इवन टेलीकॉम नेटवर्क्स, एयरटेल के साथ में ऐसी कुछ स्कीम्स, ऐसे कुछ कॉम्बोस, या कभी कभी मूवीज के साथ में भी कोलैबोरेशंस होते हैं। सो दीज आर द एरियाज वेयर प्रोडक्ट मार्केटिंग मैनेजर इज ए वेरी रीसेंट फेनोमिनन। ऐप स्पेसिफिक बिजनेसेस में ज्यादा होगा या डिजिटल बिजनेसेस में ज्यादा होगा। सो दैट्स व्हाट इज व्हाट आई visualize it as.
Thank you, sir.
Right, sir. Okay. Thank you for the inputs. And with this, we would like to thank Antara. Thank you so much for patiently listening to all the queries and giving a very, very customized answer to all of those queries. Thank you for staying up to so late in the night, and thank you, really, thank you. And again, thank you, sir, for organizing this entire session and the entire series. Since we are coming to the end of this entire series, I would really like to thank Time Ahmedabad for doing this for the students who are in the system and who will be being future MBA graduates. Right. So, and we call it a night. Antara, anything that you would like to say to the audience?
Nothing, just all the best. And, yeah.
Right.
Right.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in the entire series. Thank you.